The Merewyrm's Tooth, Animal Kingdoms Book 1 by Oliver Paglia. An extract from Chapter 7. Blue waves rippled across Vaharan's face. A faint, deep drone accompanied the vision. All that moved were his eyelids, a trance-inducing wave reflecting back in his pupils. I must be in heaven looking down, he thought. The god's view of earth was truly divine. Then a large fish swam down to the divide. It fixed its gaze on Vaharan. He stood up, staring back. The floating aqua was twice his height again above him. The fish opened its mouth, displaying a broad, toothy grin. It lunged at him, only to be repelled in a wave back toward the light that radiated downward. Pulling his eyes away from the unnatural spectacle, the marine light illuminated cut stone slabs laid in a linear order, trailing off into the darkness. A contradicting flash of yellow came from this. In the blink of an eye, someone, or something, had slipped a flaming torch into a brazier, revealing a short, broad archway. Each step Vaharan took toward it echoed ominously, but for some reason it didn't bother him. What he may have felt before, as overwhelming helplessness during his recent brushes with death, was now just curious irritation. He was hungry, thirsty, tired and damp. Whatever was waiting for him through the archway, he wanted to get it over with. Liberating the torch from its copper restraint, Vaharan stooped through the squat passage, bringing up his spear in support of the leading flame. A claustrophobic flight of stone stairs led up to the left immediately beyond the chamber. Attempting to gauge his surroundings, Vaharan bore the torch over his head to find a low ceiling, but the walls disappeared upwards into the blackness. For all the uncertainty, he felt shepherded by some strange intelligence. Soon reaching the top of the flight of stone, Vaharan held his torch into a great nothingness, the flame flickering in expiration. As he moved into this, the echo of his footfall filled him with trepidation, but the fear wasn't enough to loosen the grip on his spear. With a grating boom, Vaharan leapt around to find a stone slab where he'd just been standing. Without thinking, he spun again, his senses finally attuned to the moment. He was becoming used to being in a tight spot. A croak ripped forth out of the abyss. The reverberations were so profound that Vaharan couldn't detect where they had come from, though it seemed at some distance. The echo had barely died when two braziers either side of Vaharan burst into life. He shielded his face from the sudden flash, his eyes wide from scouring in the dark. Then another pair of braziers ignited beyond them, then another and another, ripping along a vast chamber like a wind-fueled brushfire. Then he saw it from a distance. Two great bottomless black eyes atop a green leathery mouth. It was the creature from his dream.
"There is no need to be afraid,"
said a whispered voice next to Vaharan's head. He flinched, spinning in a circle, but no one was there. He fixed back on the squat figure. As Vaharan's eyes adjusted to the light, he saw the being wore a blue robe and sat on a stone throne above an altar. "Are there others here?" The contrasting resonance of Vaharan's voice was unnerving. The answer came, sounding all around but close by.
"There are others here, but do not concern yourself. They will hear all."
Walking the length of the chamber seemed to take an age. After a long stroll, Vaharan climbed the shallow slabs up to where the creature was seated. Its face was bare of all expression, bar the slightest compassionate twinkle in its black eyes.
"Oh my,"
came the whispered voice, its great lips never moving.
"You do look worse for wear."
12 black-eyed, leathery faces gazed unblinkingly at Vaharan. They sat around an elliptical table in the centre of a small, circular chamber. On entering, a dozen muted voices whispered,
"Welcome."
without moving a muscle. Food and water had been brought for Faharan before he'd arrived. None of the others partook, but after having gone days without proper sustenance, that didn't bother him. As Faharan gorged himself, the robed creature drew up next to him.
"I am Veneficus,
Drifted the voice into his head.
and we are the Magi."
The name jolted fireside stories of beasts that lived underwater, abducting Manzai lamblings who wandered too near to lakes and rivers after dark.
"No, do not worry. Such things are untrue."
Veneficus's broad mouth creased slightly at the edges. "Your mind readers." A salutary croaking arose around the table. Then a collective voice came.
"We are sorry about how we brought you here, but we wanted to see how you would manage."
One of you climbed the tree. Faharan was cut short by levity-hued croaking.
"We know why you are here, but the forest is overrun with satyrs. Once they were few, but their greed knows no bounds. Yet they do not come through the swamps unless they have to."
A proud croaking rose up, webbed-handed fists tapping the table.
"The blight ailing the grasslands of the animal kingdom is a mystery to us, but we agree that a Merewyrm's tooth should cure it."
Faharan found a calm among the Magi he hadn't felt since leaving Pagus. "Will you help me find the Merewyrm?" asked Faharan.
"Alas, we cannot.
Faharan's head dropped at the answer.
But we will help you on your way. The satyrs roam everywhere but here. A few summers ago, they constructed a town where they trade their stolen trinkets."
Enmity entering into Veneficus's speechless voice.
"Pusillanus it is called. You must go through it."
Why? Was Faharan's obvious question.
"Because it is the closest point to the western edge of the great forest. They will not think to find you there."
Will I not stand out? Was the next question.
"There are other children of Glaber in Pusillanus.
Replied Veneficus ineffably.
Besides, we have other powers beyond speaking without sound."